Hi there, it's Uli and this is my third vlog. In my first part of this series I told you that I wrote a book about karma, and this is pretty much the umbrella term of all of my talks over the next few weeks. It's a subject that's been of interest to me for a long time now, and I believe that the term karma, as I said in my first presentation, is very much misunderstood in this day and age, and that most people don't actually fully understand what it actually means. As a preliminary, I will say that I'm not here to be an expert. I'm not here to be presenting myself as a professional vlogger or anything. This is the first time I've done anything like it. I quite like the aspect of it being a little bit amateurish because and the little mishaps that happen with it. Like I believe it's about being human, and we pay a lot of attention these days to having everything perfect and perfectly presented and having the right hairstyle and the right makeup and everything, and I've never been about that. It's not important to me. So how it presents itself, hopefully it will be understood for what it is. I am here to be authentic. I'm here to convey something to you which I'm hoping it might be of help to one or two people, and even if just one person feels that it's of benefit to them, then let's celebrate that. And I'm usually a very positive person, but I think it's been difficult for all of us to maintain that positivity and actually have an outlook on life, you know, and an answer to the question, what's next? Because that answer can potentially be so many different things. Initially we talked about the concept of infinite, and we talked about karma a little bit. We talked about DNA in the second part, about how we incarnate and how it actually happens. You know, we talked about energy and so on. And in this section I will continue talking about the same sort of principles, but in a slightly different way. I want to start again with the word karma and how we perceive it to be something and that it's not, and diminish it, because the opposite of playing it down would be playing it up, and this is what I wrote my book about. It's playing up what the vastness of karma. That's why it's called Thoughts on the Vastness of Karma. Big Bible. Only because it covers already all of the aspects of our lives and lifetimes before this, and will always do so, because it's a principle of energy and how energy comes together to form life. And in the second presentation I already spoke a little bit about the preciousness of life and our aliveness and how important it is. Can't stress it enough. How important it is that we are reminded again, that we get this sensation again of how the aliveness is the most important attribute that we have in our lifetime, and yet everywhere we go it's being questioned, it's being undermined. We're supposed to be feeling anxious about it. We're supposed to you know, sort of make a living, and you know, how can life possibly be precious if it's so hard, if it's so difficult, if it's so hard to even exist and even come onto this earth to exist. How can it be so precious? And this is exactly the contradiction in terms. Because it's so precious, it's worth pursuing, and it's worth finding all of these ways that will help us to make positive is such an overused word. It's almost like when I say positive, other people will say, well, I'm not a positive person, I'm quite a negative person. And that's okay. Everything's okay, everything's cool. But it's a constructive thing to do, to look into how we can maintain our lives in a way and look at them slightly differently, so that it becomes of benefit to everyone, no matter where we are, who we are, or how we live, no matter whether we have lots of money or no money at all, whether we have health or ill health. All of these are here as part of the greater principle of our own evolution, of our own development. And to see it as that is a suggestion, although for me it's never in question, because I've written so much about it by now and I've researched it so much, and I actually don't have a problem believing it. But I'm not saying that you have to examine that for yourself and see whether it's a concept that you want to believe in as well. And it's not so much a belief system either. It's not a religion, it's not a concept, it's not a philosophy, it's not a principle as such that is being brought to us. So, sort of it's not a manual where which you can just read and then you get on with life. So it's quite difficult because it doesn't fit into any category, and that's for good reason, because the principle prevails all of our lives and all of our lifetimes. The principle of karma is that there is something present at all times, whether we exist or not. Something always prevails whether we exist or not. And that doesn't just include us as living beings, it exists way beyond our own solar system, if you like, our own planetary system. And that's already really hard to understand because we can't see beyond that, and we just use our eyes to sort of see something. And if you've ever watched a movie or a film or a presentation about how planets sort of circulate around in the solar system, and then there's this zooming out, and you're supposed to then look at the solar system, the galaxy, and then you realize, oh, this is just one of billions, trillions, gazillions galaxies out there in this massive universe, which may or may not expand according to different belief systems and different bits of evidence and theories and so on that scientists have come up with, or philosophers. And you just look at all of these principles and think, oh, this is all very interesting, but how does it affect me? If we were to zoom out even more, we would actually be able to see that our universe is perfectly contained in this ethereal universe, a universal blob, if you like it's contained, and it's contained in the vastness of existence. It's not just, that was my lovely daughter coming in, but I'm in the stream of saying something, so I will tend to her in a moment. It's contained in this beautiful blob. I love that she came in right at this moment of time trying to explain infinite, which I told you earlier, it's her favourite subject. But this blob is just one of many that is suspended in animation in the great vastness. And the vastness isn't empty, it's full of potential, it's full of energy, it's full of everything that could exist but doesn't physically exist just yet. So it's everything unmanifest. So the moment that switches, and I can't tell you exactly what makes it's happened again, hasn't it? I can't tell you exactly what makes it switch, But it's the dance of Shiva, it's the dance of the universe that allows something to be unmanifest potential, unmanifest energy at one point. And when I'm talking about energy, I'm not talking about electric energy, I'm not even talking about electromagnetic energy. This is a 3D principle. But I'm talking about the finer vibrational energy that's even more intricate than that, that contains particle, it contains patterns, it's governed by sacred geometry and principles of lines and circles and globes and orbs, and in all sorts of different dimensions, converging and expanding and contracting and so on. So the unmanifestness of all of that, could nearly not say it then, at some point starts to manifest. And it's a process of expansion and contraction, and a contraction is when the energy comes together, and at some point the density of the energy increases, and it starts to converge and converge and converge more and more and more and more over a period sometimes of maybe millions of years. But at some point there is a point of no return, where the unmanifest energy has converged so much that it will actually start to manifest as matter. It starts to come together in most often in a globe shape, in an orb shape. So the same is true for the universe and all that it contains. It has an orb shape around it, except there's no membrane on the outer perimeters. There is like a space of where existence and non-existence kind of merge, a little bit like maybe water goes into a gaseous state when it gets heated up to a certain temperature. So that's what it looks like at the edge of the universe, as far as I can tell. But if it converges even more, then, you know, sort of cellular structures can be formed, whole ecosystems can be formed, planets can be formed. And underlying this whole principle of aliveness is that first there is an environment there that sustains life. And it follows the same principles as forming life itself, because we come into life as a seed that I talked about before, the energy seed. And this seed is the tiny, tiny, tiny manifest and condensed energy that is able to travel and enter a body. It's able to travel because it is lighter than light. It doesn't have matter attached to it. For years and years and years, decades, eons, lifetimes, people still believe now that there isn't anything that can travel faster than light. Yes, there is. And that's the unmanifest energy. The unmanifest omnipresence is everywhere, that hence the name Omnipresence. It is able to exist everywhere at once. And this is really hard for us to comprehend because we use our brains to comprehend it. But like I said in the first video of this series, we can't comprehend it with our brains. Our brains, as I was explaining before, the way that the universe works cannot easily be comprehended with our brains. So therefore, because we're in this binary way of thinking and deciding our next step always just based on thinking, we are forever caught in this trap of, am I for or against? We're never actually at that stage where we actually just see things as they are. We're not looking into things as they are. We're just making up our brains, really, not even our minds, about do I like it or don't I like it? Is it useful for me? Is it not useful for me? How does it affect me? So we're immediately in this narrative of not seeing what is there right in front of us. We're not seeing our aliveness. We're not seeing the truth of our surroundings, of our planet. We're not seeing it in the greater context of how vast our universe is. We're not even seeing the truth beyond the universe, meaning this is not the only universe there is. It's suspended